Now, I know this is a little bit late, but how many of you guys want to make 2020 the year where you finally do something incredible with your life? Because I know this is something that I would like to do. But before you do that, there are a few things that you have to make sure that you're not doing, because doing these things will completely destroy your life unintentionally. Now, something you have to understand is that as humans, we are basically slaves to pleasure. And the type of pleasure varies, but at the end of the day, we all seek pleasure. A lot of guys eat junk food and others smoke. But for many of us, our guilty pleasure is just sitting on the couch watching TV and never getting any exercise. Now, the thing that you don't realize is that pleasure is costing you something. Every time that you sit on the couch and watch TV for 5 hours at a time, you are paying for that whether you realize it or not. Now, the problem with pleasure is that when we are constantly seeking pleasure, what we are basically doing is just feeling our way through life using the primal part of our brain. And this is not the way that we were designed to use our brain. I just want to say that there is nothing wrong with enjoying a little bit of pleasure now and then. But when pleasure becomes your main focus and it's the only thing that you seek day in and day out, this is the type of mindset that will completely destroy your life over time. So make sure to enjoy pleasure every now and then, but just do not make it the focus of your entire life. Now, next up is a little word that doesn't sound so scary, but has incredibly powerful effects on your life, whether you realize it or not. So many people in this world are incredibly negative people, and something that you have to understand is that negative energy is constantly being transferred between people. So when you're around a negative person, you might look at that person and think, okay, yeah, that person's obviously negative, but what you don't realize is that that person's negativity is actually being transferred to you, even if you're just passively listening to what they're saying. Just like positive energy rubs off on people and makes them feel good, negative energy rubs off on people and makes them feel awful. Now, depending on who you ask, pretty much everything is energy. And without getting too deep into the science of it, all that I'm really trying to say is that energy is far more important than most people give it credit for. So think about who and also what you're spending most of your time around. Because negative energy can come not just from other people, but through things such as the television or even Facebook posts that you're passively reading. And you can just trust me when I say that spending too much time around negative people or negative things over time will actually turn you into an incredibly negative person, which in return will probably destroy your life. Now, next up is the third thing that many of us are doing right now without even realizing that is having a dramatic impact on our life and our success and how well we are able to achieve our goals. And this is called procrastination. If we are ever going to become better men and improve our lives to the point of where we want them to be, then one of the greatest enemies that we will ever face is called procrastination. And one of the funniest things about procrastination is that it's so sneaky that most of us don't even realize when we are getting hit with it. Procrastination is like a little wedge that just likes to stick itself in between us and things that we want to or need to achieve. And it can come at any time, at any point, and completely block us from getting done what we need to get done. I remember a guy that I looked up to once told me that the richest places in the world aren't actually cities, but rather they are graveyards. And the reason for this is because something like 100,000 people die every single day. And when these people die, they are buried with their dreams and their goals that they never were able to accomplish. Trust me when I tell you that you can't possibly know when your time is going to come. One of the most awful feelings that you never want to have is feeling like you never actually lived your life to its full potential. And procrastination is that little voice that sneaks into your head and basically prevents you from getting things done. So the next time you need to get something done and a little voice whispers in your ear saying, oh no, just wait another 10 minutes. Or let's just put it off till tomorrow. Just simply tell it no and then proceed to do whatever it is that you know deep down that you need to do. A famous quote once said, setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. One of the biggest mistakes that guys make is simply not setting goals, because without goals, you can't possibly achieve anything. Now, the thing with goals is that they are basically like little maps that help you to know where you're going. The reason why goals are so incredibly important is because they give us something to focus on, or put simply, they give us direction towards something. Because without goals, you are basically just aimless. A great way to think about this is that being somebody who doesn't have goals is pretty much like a ship that's out at sea without a compass. Without a compass, you are at the mercy of the wind, and you're going to get blown in whatever direction the wind is going. And metaphorically, what this means is that if you don't have goals, the winds of life, so to speak, are going to blow you in whatever direction they want to go. And you're just going to end up somewhere one day, probably on a couch in your buddy's house, wondering what the hell happened to your life. And something to understand about goals is that it's best to have a couple of different types, which means you should have big goals, but also little goals. And personally, what I like to do is set a huge goal, such as making a certain amount of income per month, then slowly chipping away at that big goal via smaller goals until eventually I hit that major goal. Now, the final thing that so many guys do every single day is something that most people never pay any attention to, which is a huge mistake. And this thing is called perception. Oftentimes, what we don't realize is that the way that the world is simply a matter of how we perceive it. The way that we look at something is so incredibly important. And this applies to the way that we look at ourselves, or the way that we look at objects, or the way that we look at other people. And the reason why so many guys are failing in life right now is just a matter of the way that they perceive things. For example, if you're a real estate broker and you look at market reports and things say that the market is really bad right now and homes are not selling and this and that and everything is doom and gloom, this is probably going to change your perception in the way that you view things, which in return is going to dramatically change your performance. And you're probably not going to sell any homes and you're most likely going to not make any money. But what if you change your perception and instead you view the market in a way that is positive? And instead of just sitting around and thinking that everything sucks, you actually get out there and see for yourself that the market really is great and there really are tons of opportunities to make money. So in this case, the only difference between winning and losing, so to speak, was simply a matter of perception, or the way that you perceived something. This simple thing affects so many guys in ways that they never could even imagine. And if you don't have the right perception of something, then it's going to affect your life in a really negative way. So the way that we perceive various circumstances or situations that we're in is incredibly important, but you could argue that even far more important than that is the way that we perceive ourselves. Now, we've all heard of the famous quote, "He who thinks he can and he who thinks he can't are both probably right." All that this means is that the guy who perceives that he can do something is just as right as the guy who perceives that he can't. Now, whether or not these guys actually can or can't do something is irrelevant, because the only thing that matters is whether they think they can. So many guys have low confidence and they perceive themselves in a way that is unfavorable. And over time, this perception turns into a solid belief. And then they start looking for evidence to confirm this belief, and then before you know it, their life is completely destroyed and they miss out on all kinds of opportunities, and all these things that they wanted to have, they never get simply because they perceive themselves in the wrong way. Unless you were just in some crazy freak accident and half of your face was chopped off, there's absolutely nothing that can stop you from changing your perception of yourself right now to one that is favorable and that will allow you to achieve so much more in your life. When you perceive yourself as somebody who's fun to be around and confident and all these other things, what you're basically doing is giving yourself a chance to actually become these things, to actually become confident or become the guy that's really fun to be around. Because he who thinks he can and he who thinks he can't, in the end, are both usually right. So why not be the guy who thinks that he can? I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for the support. And also let me know what you guys think of this new animation style. And until next time, thanks for watching.